Alright, from Alexander Keith's, from here in Nova Scotia to Halifax. Their newest beer, Alexander Keith's Premium White. They've been releasing steadily last couple of years. Every couple of years they seem to come up with a new beer as of late. My feelings on this is that it's a direct sort of response to Rickard's Red, the Molson semi-craft brew line. Rickard's Red started showing up in Nova Scotia, so all of a sudden we had Keith's Red. Rickard's just came out a year ago or so with their white, Rickard's White. So now we have Alexander Keith's Premium White all of a sudden. In between the red and this, there is also the traditional lager. One of the cashiers at the local liquor store that I bought this from informed me that they're discontinuing their traditional lager, which they released about a year ago or so, because of poor sales, which is weird because it's actually probably the first Keith's beer that really was what it said it was, right? You know how the IPA isn't really an IPA. Their red ale really just sort of tastes like a lager with red food coloring. They also have a Staghead Stout, which has not yet been released, at least not around here in bottles or cans. I was hoping to just get this in a can, but everyone bought those up the first week that this appeared in the liquor store, I guess. They bought them right up to try it out, and I can't say I blame them. I wouldn't prefer to pick up a 12-pack instead, but that's what I'm forced to do here, so we're going to try this out anyway. It's 5% ABV. So it is a white beer, so it's supposedly a wheat beer. Where do they say? They say brewed with citrus and spice. Ale brewed with citrus and spice. They don't really specify what spices or anything like that. They just say it's a white beer. It's supposed to be spicy. It's supposed to be like a Hefeweizen or Weiss beer. Actually, I think this is more in the style of a Belgian white instead of a German. So without further ado, we're going to get right into the review here and see how this stuff goes. Pour it now. Swirl the last bit in the bottle. This is a white beer, wheat beer. It is supposedly unfiltered, so yep. Okay, so far so good. Definitely is a sort of a golden color, and it is very cloudy. Looks a tad bit darker than Hougly, just a tad bit. Nice little one finger head going there. I don't know how long that'll last. So we'll give it a old aroma test now, see how it goes. Okay. Score another point for Keith's. It smells like Hougly. It really does. A bit fainter though. Sort of a muted Hougly smell. Sort of, yeah, kind of muted. Just sort of like a faint, almost how it would smell if you just left the bottle, an empty bottle of Hougly in your room for a day, and you went back and smelled it. It'd be sort of like that, sort of a faint smell. You get the citrus, you get the I'd say there's probably coriander in there. Sort of typical Belgian white beer kind of smells. It's nice. It's actually nice. So I got to give Keith's credit. So far their appearance and the aroma are top notch pretty much for the style. We will take the taste test now. The nose is brought over into the taste initially. You get the coriander, the citrus, a nice spicy kind of citrusy light taste to it. So sort of summer beer, wheat beer taste that you expect and you want. The problem with this beer is the aftertaste. This is actually a problem with every Keith's beer. Actually, it has that same dry, almost stale Keith's aftertaste. It sort of works for their so-called IPA, but every other beer since then has tasted like that, and it's almost as if every beer they've released since their IPA is a variation on that beer, as if they take the same beer out of one massive tank and then they flavor it with something else and release it as, oh, here's our red ale, here's our stout, yada yada yada. It's kind of disappointing. It's actually quite disappointing. It's not bad. It's not bad, but it does have that Keith's taste at the back of the mouth. It dries right out. It loses all the spiciness, the citrus totally goes away. A bit too watery for a wheat beer too. A bit too watery. This is definitely, I can't say I'm really surprised. This is sort of what I expected. It's actually a bit better than I expected, but really this is just sort of a crass cash-in on the craft brew success. This is definitely a direct response to the Rickard's White. The Rickard's White is actually better than this. And the Rickard's White is just sort of a macro attempt at a white beer as well, right? But Rickard's does not have the bad aftertaste that this one does. Yeah, the aftertaste isn't that great. It's not awful or off-putting. It's the same Keith's aftertaste you get in every beer that Keith's releases. You don't need a 12-pack of this, what the fuck. Unless you're sharing with like 3 or 4 friends, you don't need a 12-pack of this stuff. It's supposed to be okay for summer drinking, but I guess I'll give it a slight recommendation. A very low 3. Yeah, so a low 3 out of 5 for Keith's Premium White. I'm kind of hoping their Staghead Stout shows up. I don't have a lot of hope for it being a quality beer, but I'd like to at least try it. I wish Keith's would have the balls to release that. I mean, they had the balls to release this. I mean, why not release their stout? What's wrong? But, yeah, so Keith's Premium White, very low 3 out of 5. I guess it's worth trying out. See if you can find the single cans. They should be in the liquor stores. You see if you can find the single cans first and try those. Don't go for the 12-pack unless you really have to. Okay.